We are so happy that we have met Gary Hearn. He has been such a great influence to us and a great help in our lives, and we are so thankful for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much.
You always look out for us. Thank you.
How long had you met Gary?
Yes.
A year and a half.
A year and a half?
Yes.
Okay. What seminar did you attend?
We didn't attend the seminar.
I did.
My wife went to.
Oh, your wife.
Yeah.
She went to the seminar and she came back so ecstatic that she met this company.
Medicare. It was a Medicare seminar.
Oh, America.
And I really needed that information. And that's how we met.
It was truly a blessing.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Same to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. We are here with Mr. and Mrs. Henatichak. And please, can you tell me a little bit about your story with Doranoya, Gary, and David? Maria?
I know Gary and David for 6 years ago, and and I still was friends because he helped me something for my insurance, and I still was friends together, and also was brother for Jesus Christ, and was like family, and I'm so happy, and thanks for God and thanks for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Jesus.
much.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas for everybody, and I bless every family, and I ask for God blessing for
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Dziękuję bardzo.
On this.
Sería bueno. Ay, ¿qué diga?
I can just tell you, no?
Okay. Entonces,
Ready?
yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Durham. Welcome to our Social Security Explained 2025 changes. This actually is our first presentation with all the changes that you're going to enjoy it. And above enjoying it, you're going to learn a lot. And we look forward to speaking with you. We're going to take about 45 minutes. We'll fly a little fast, so keep your seatbelts fastened. And I'll show you how to get personal information throughout the program. Let's get started. Again, my name is David Durham. I'm also sitting here with our Director of Marketing, Kenya Garcia. She's going to help us as we proceed towards the end of the program to talk about some questions and answers that will help you as well. You're also welcome to throw out your own questions, and we will be glad to answer those. We're just going to pose some questions that have been asked of us recently. Let's first start by asking ourselves a question: what is Social Security? Well, Social Security is actually, in today's terms, a pension program. Pension means lifetime income. Originally, not to bore you, it was a program to prevent poverty. But today, it's a whole different story, because in Middle America, Social Security benefits comprise about 40% of the average person's need for their budget in retirement. So it's a very important topic. And unfortunately, it's a topic that has a lot of misinformation and lack of information. So stay tuned, because we're going to answer some questions today. What is Social Security? Well, I told you it's a pension, which is also, in today's terms, an annuity with survivor benefits. The 5 ways that you can receive Social Security, we're going to explain. I invite you to tune in closely, because some of these are going to relate to you personally and directly. The first and biggest one is a retirement benefit. In other words, you reached a certain age, sometime at 60, 62 and above, and you've chosen to take Social Security as a traditional retirement benefit. We'll be talking more about that to help you in timing, strategy, and tax understanding as we go through the program. Now let's slide to a spousal benefit. Now, a spousal benefit is very interesting because here's what happens. One spouse has the highest benefit. Perhaps they worked the longest, they made the most income, and another spouse made little to no income. And even if it wasn't little, it's less. In that case, there is such a thing as a spousal benefit. So let's go through that very quickly. One spouse has a benefit of $3,000 a month, a little higher than the average nationally, but we're going to use $3,000 for easy math. And the other spouse only has a benefit of $800 a month. Now, mark that this is less than half. So here's a couple of rules. If the spouse with the highest benefit has reached full retirement age, which for many of you would be 66 or 67, then they are the ones that become the determining factor for whether or not the spouse with the lesser benefit is entitled to a benefit. How are they entitled? Well, first of all, their benefit is less than half of the $3,000. Remember, it's $800. They have to be 62. And remember, the spouse with the higher benefit has to have reached full retirement age and take the benefit. Now, in the previous rules, you could apply for that benefit as the one with the higher benefit, apply, and then disregard it. That is no longer allowed. So you have to apply and you have to receive it, $3,000 a month. The other spouse has to take theirs, $800, but they get approximately 40% of the full benefit. So instead of being $800, it becomes somewhere in the vicinity of $1,200, depending how far you are past age 62. That is a spousal benefit, and I'm going to throw something in. Social Security does not tell you these kinds of strategies, and I will prove that to you momentarily. There's another benefit, disability. Disability benefits apply to children that qualify, and you as an adult can make application as early as age 50. Now, I will say that a disability benefit in recent years is more difficult to qualify for. It's very involved. It's very timely. There are cases where we've seen disability benefits approved within months, especially if that person is very, very disabled. But please remember, it's difficult, it's timely, and also we're going to talk about this in a later slide about a caution in the world of disability benefits. I'm encouraging you to stay tuned. There's another benefit called a survivor benefit. We could also call that a widower benefit. So let's say you're married more than 10 years, a spouse passes away, the surviving spouse is entitled to that spouse's benefit who passed away if it's higher. So your benefit as a surviving spouse may only be $1,500 a month, but the spouse who passed has a benefit of $3,000. So you can automatically upgrade to the $3,000. But now I'm going to throw into the mix some creative planning. Your spouse passed away. Your benefit is $1,500. Your spouse's is $3,000. You might want to take the lower benefit while the other benefit grows. And we're going to show you a graph in just a few slides that talks about that very concept. I know that sounds a little bit deep, but folks, if you want to optimize your Social Security benefit, then guess what? With professional help at no cost to you, you can get what's best and then the best timing for you. Now, we're going to bring up a question. Will Social Security be there for you? Because in many of the Social Security statements and in much that's publicized, Social Security will be out of money or very lacking by the year 2034. That's not very far away, is it? So here's the thing. When you look at the history of Social Security, I have three things to say of importance. Number one, it was founded by Congress. All right. So Congress, you and I get to vote them in and out. And guess what? They're going to be very hesitant to play too much with your Social Security. The second thing I would say is this. I do understand, as you see on the screen, that the number of people paying in versus the number of people taking Social Security has changed drastically over the decades. But mark this. Over history, Social Security, Congress, the IRS has found ways to fund announced deficits. And I can think of at least 3 times over history since Social Security was started in 1935 that Social Security stepped up to the plate and solved the deficit, within just a few years. So I'm going to make a conclusion and I'm going to talk to you about it. You should not have to worry about your Social Security benefit. Now, here's an example. In the early 80s, it was announced that Social Security would have a deficit in just a few years. They formed the Greenspan Commission, and by the way, by August of 83, they said Social Security will be out of money, and the Greenspan Commission, which was appointed by President Reagan, came to the scene and also worked on how to economize our budget, and they solved the problem. And Mr. Greenspan was in a newscast, and they asked him, what about Social Security and solving the deficit? Well, if you get the right people in the room, you can solve Social Security in about 15 minutes, and the first 7 minutes are pleasantries. The bottom line, I know I'm being quick, but I just want to allay a fear. You should be okay. Now, let's talk about some Social Security changes that have happened, some now and some since COVID. So we're going to dive into that. Stay tuned. It's exciting. Here's something interesting. In order to qualify for Social Security benefits, you have to have what's called 40 credits. And so you earn a credit for every $1,810 in income. Don't worry, this is not boring. It's not deep. So in 1 year, you can achieve 4 credits. So you can see that you'd have to work at least 10 years to get those 40 credits. And the 1810 that I quoted is the new number, and so is the 7,240 per 2025. But here's something encouraging for you. It's not uncommon, especially in border states where we have a lot of people that came from other countries, especially South America, that one spouse lacks 40 credits. Not to worry. If you've been married 10 years or more, that spouse without the 40 credits qualifies by virtue of the other spouse who has 40 credits. So it enables them to be entitled. Remember, I talked about a spousal benefit? Well, it's not uncommon for a person with less than 40 credits to have a benefit that's $300 to $500 a month. And the other spouse worked full time, made decent earnings, and theirs is an average of $2,500 a month. The spouse with less than 40 credits, by reaching age 62, and the spouse with the 40 credits and more that's worked a long time with a higher income, let's say their benefit is $2,500 a month, that spouse without 40 credits at age 62 can step into about 40% of that $2,500, which is $1,000 a month. I want to throw this in. I'm going to do it from time to time. This is not information that you can get voluntarily from Social Security offices or online. Let's keep going. There's something else, and it changes every year, not just for 2025. If you are receiving any type of a Social Security benefit, you are subject each year to an announced inflation increase. We call it a cost of living increase, COLI. The average over 50 years is 3.1%. This year it's 2.75. The highest I've seen is 8.19, but the average is 3 point something. So by the way, when you're doing retirement planning and making projections, which is something we do, then you can use that inflation factor to help you in planning for your future retirement budget. Now, taxing Social Security. There are several ways that Social Security can get taxed. I call it the tax torpedo, and we're going to talk about it interspersedly in our program this evening. Here we go. Taxes are a big challenge. And I mentioned two ways that they can hit you pretty hard. It can change when you decide to take Social Security. It can also change which strategy you choose, because Social Security benefits and assets and the income they generate are taxed differently. So let's talk about that for a moment. Here's an example right here. One of the things that Social Security changed a number of years ago is what's called full retirement age. Bear with me. Full retirement age for my parents, who were born in 1918, was 65. That was the standard full retirement age. Now, what if you decided to take benefits at 62? Because you are eligible at 62. Well, you are subject to what's shown here as an earnings test. So here it is in an example form. You have, when you take Social Security early again is any time before full retirement age. For many of you, it's 66 or 66 in so many months, or as high as 67. What is the significance of full retirement age? Here we go. You have an earnings limit. So between the ages of 60, and by the way, a widow or widower can apply for a Social Security benefit as early as age 60, but they're still going to need to be aware of this earnings test. And here we go. Your earnings limit in earned income is $23,400. That's the 2025 number. So you apply for a benefit, but your income, by the way, was $54,000, as we see at the bottom of the screen. You have an excess of 30, I'm rounding the dollars, of $30,000 excess earned income, and 50 cents on every dollar of excess is a tax. I don't call it a tax, I call it a penalty. And so, folks, it's very important that you consider your age and your earned income before you take Social Security, especially if you have not reached full retirement age. Now I'm going to throw in a little trick that sometimes can be played on you. In fact, very often. So you just reached 67, you're excited, and you worked last year and you made $100,000. And Social Security says to you, hey, you are entitled to a 6-month bonus. Hey, wow. So what does that mean? I'm qualified for a benefit of $3,000 a month. Another easy math. I'm going to get a bonus of $18,000. And then next month, my benefit starts at $3,000. Hold it. They backdated your benefit start date 6 months, which one means it's 3% less for the rest of your life. And secondly, remember last year you had earned income and it exceeded the earnings limit. Oh, wow. Depending on what age you are subject to an earnings limit, and your benefit could be reduced to next to nothing or nothing. That is not good news. Now, I want to say this. Under the new administration, there is some discussion on taxes on Social Security, but for retirement planning and Social Security planning, it's important for you to understand that the IRS has another type of tax on all of your retirement earnings. And that in itself could affect when you take Social Security. Let's pause for station identification. Sounds a little over my head. It doesn't have to be. We have a lifeline. We can show you how to know what is right and best, and in the best timing for you at no cost. We shall keep going. Oh, here's an example of something that's very, very important. you decided to retire, and we're shifting gears for just a moment to talk about what I call Social Security integration. What is that? Regardless of some of these taxes and strategies that are available to you, you have basically three sources of income in retirement. One, Social Security. There's the best timing and strategy, but it's also dependent on two other factors. The other factor is I have pension and rental and dividend income from my investable assets. Okay, so maybe, just maybe, you might let your Social Security grow, not take it yet, and take it from your portfolio. And I'm going to talk about that with this slide in just a moment. So we say, which one do I take first? And what's it going to feel like, look like, and how long is it going to last for me to take Social Security, other income from pensions, dividends, and rental income, and from investable assets? One may come before the other, and eventually, I understand, all three will kick in. What are the three? Social Security, pensions, rental income, dividends, none of which are considered earned income. So just for a moment, let's go back to that earnings test, because you are deciding to take a Social Security benefit early. Early is when? Before full retirement age. Well, the only thing that the IRS and Social Security consider for the earnings test is earned income. So remember the three sources. We have Social Security benefits. We have dividends, interest, rental income, and then we also have investable assets, and we're going to use those because in 95% of cases, especially in Middle America, when people retire, they need all sources of investments and long-term income to support their retirement lifestyle. So here's an example of a portfolio over the last 24 years. The yellow shows when the stock market lost money. This is the S&P 500. So I'm making a very generous assumption that your portfolio, in all of its diversification and allocations, is designed to pretty well parallel the S&P 500. Now, that's not very common, but I'm just wanting to be generous in what I'm showing you. And as is very typical, you need to withdraw 5% a year from your portfolio in conjunction with Social Security and other types of income that I've mentioned to do what? To support your retirement lifestyle. Watch this graph and pay close attention. You probably became familiar in your earning and saving years of dollar cost averaging. In other words, regardless of where your portfolio was in your 401k, your 403b, your thrift savings plan, your IRAs, you contributed periodically, most of us every 2 weeks from our pay. So here we are. Now we're not contributing every 2 weeks. That was the accumulation stage. Now we're in the decumulation withdrawal stage. Whole different picture and a whole different set of math that deserves your attention. So those first 3 years, the stock market lost over 50%. You can see that to the far left. And you started taking income at the rate of 5% of your portfolio in the second year. If you go to the far right, just by following the actual performance of the market for a 24-year period, you're going down from 100,000. Because remember, you're withdrawing that money whether the market is up or down. And I'm even giving consideration in 2003, by the way, the stock market, as you can see there, went up 26.69%. That's net of 2% in commissions and fees. Wow. Watch it going down. Go down to 2019. You see red in the far right. What is that? You're now in a deficit. So you have lowered your lifestyle discontinued being able to withdraw from investable assets. Folks, I understand very well that the average rate of return in the S&P 500 in a 75-year history is 7 to 8%. I understand that, but I want to say two things. I, this year, by the way, have 50 years experience as a financial advisor and 42 years with my own firm that only does retirement planning. So I speak from data that you can obtain as well as my own experience to enlighten you. Here's the story. Most portfolios balance risk with safety when that portfolio has an intended purpose of what? Future retirement income. So here's an example of retirement income at work. And the problem is the law of averages is working in a reversed way. And there you have that deficit in 19 years. Now, I understand that these numbers can change, and they always do, but it's not uncommon for the market to show a loss every 5 years in the last 75 years. And we're showing here 7 years of losses in this 24-year period. Wow. So here's the thing. Law of averages, is it worth the risk? And I'm going to say two more things and we'll move on. Many portfolios are balancing risk with safety using bonds and target funds. Well, folks, in the last years, many bond funds are losing. And target funds have a lot of bonds in them, especially the lower the year for the target fund. And many of you have both of those in your portfolio as the fiduciary's responsibility to properly balance your risk with safety. So these numbers can even be worse. I'm not here to scare you. I'm just here to say something. Every portfolio should have the proper blend of risk with safety, but not in the old traditional ways. Because imagine balancing risk with safety using bonds and target funds that are losing. Many times I have had people in my career come into my office and say, here's my portfolio. By the way, I lost money. Well, didn't everybody last year? And I'll say, I'll tell you something. Or they'll say, the market did 12, I only did 5. That's unusual. And I look and I see that the losses aren't necessarily because of the stock market. They're because of how they balance risk with safety. I don't in any way mean to be over your head, but I want to challenge you to have a portfolio review, which for attending this class, you can have at no cost. We will look at it from 4 positions. Number 1, is the risk you're taking appropriate for your tolerance for risk and your time horizon for stopping working and starting to receive income from your portfolio? Number 2, what is the effect of fees on your portfolio? A lot of portfolios also have annuities. They are good, they are bad, and they're ugly. Ugly means beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. But I can tell you this, that most annuities are not understood by the owners. And secondly, annuities that are pushed by big names that I won't name are full of fees. When I say full, 2.5 to 4.1% a year. So imagine if your portfolio is designed to earn 7% a year and you're paying 3% a year in fees. 40% of the earnings are going to the firm and the advisor. That's not very good news. So it's important for you to understand what's in your portfolio. Is the risk appropriate? What fees are you paying? What annuities do you have? Are they good or are they bad? Are they interchangeable? The list goes on. And then finally, what changes should you make to make sure that your portfolio is properly postured to endure time and the storms of life? That is very important. You need a portfolio review. It's no cost. A second opinion, if you want to call it that. And I like to say, don't get a second opinion from the person that gives you the first, because that's not very objective, is it? Okay. Oh, another subject. Required minimum distribution, new rules. Here are the rules. I know most of you are familiar with required minimum distribution. What does that apply to? It applies to retirement accounts, IRAs, IRAs came from qualified retirement accounts such as a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a thrift savings plan if you're a federal worker. And so when you reach a certain age, for years it was 70 and a half. Now it's 73. And even now, considered in Congress, both sides of the aisle, is taking that 73 back to 70 and a half. Why? Because any withdrawal you take from a qualified account, let's call it an IRA, is 100% taxable. So I'm going to throw another subject in briefly. You're retired. And to meet your budget for the year, you retired in June. You need to take a distribution from your qualified account. That distribution is taxed at ordinary tax rates. So you had ordinary income earned through June of $50,000. And now you're going to take out another $50,000 to support your retirement lifestyle. It's going to be taxed on the basis of earned income. So you might want to wait until January of the next year when you will have no earned income and your taxes on your withdrawals from qualified accounts are much less. Let's go back to required minimum distribution. Very important. At 73, whether you need the money or want the money, you have to take out money. It starts at about 3.6%, and every year it slightly increases. So remember that chart I showed you that shows that you're taking out 5% a year? You have to take it from those IRA accounts, whether you need it or want it, and you want to make sure that in your portfolio, you're not facing the dilemma of being forced to take income from a portfolio that's not doing so well. The proper implementation of the best way to balance risk with safety can assure you that with your RMDs, you will never be taking good money from bad. Because if you are accelerating the depletion of your investment savings. I know I'm making some bold statements. Please understand, I've been doing retirement planning 42 years. I see it all. And I'm here to trigger and challenge your thinking to take advantage of a portfolio review and also of a consultation for your Social Security. What's the best timing? What's the strategy? What can I do to minimize the impact of taxes of the various types that could torpedo my earnings? Well, here's what we offer. We offer that consultation. And I want to say something in all sincerity. We're happy to do it because we want to show you perhaps a new, fresh approach to your retirement planning. How very, very important and how helpful. Now let's keep going. Who is eligible to receive Social Security benefits? Well, I talked about non-workers because married couples could very well have one that either never worked or worked minimally or worked but at a very low wage. They were stay-at-home parents. Remember, they can qualify for a benefit for the spouse that has the much higher benefit. I didn't talk, by the way, about divorcee benefits. Married 10 years or more, did not remarry within 2 years. They're also eligible for specific benefits, and here's what I see. One could be 64, 65 years old, not working, or not with higher income than the allowed limit we reviewed a moment ago. So they start with a divorcee benefit from the ex-spouse. Now, by the way, no permission has to be obtained from the spouse from whom you divorced that has a higher benefit. Why? Because if you take that benefit as a divorcee, it doesn't affect their amount. So you start with a divorcee benefit from that divorced spouse. It's $1,500 a month. I'm just talking. Your benefit was $1,200 a month. It's lower. But wait a minute. Here's a beautiful thing. Even if you stop working, if you have a 25 to 30-year work history paying into Social Security, by the time you reach 60, your Social Security benefit is pretty well maxed out. But something very good happens. At 62, your own personal benefit is guaranteed to grow at 6% a year up until full retirement age. Wow. From 62 to 67, it went up 30%. Hold the phone. From 67 to 70, it's guaranteed to increase annually at 8%. So we've just identified a strategy. Maybe you're a widow. You take the widow benefit at a lower amount. In my case, I'm a widower. I took my wife's benefit between 66, that's my full retirement age, and 70. While my own personal benefit, much higher, grew at 8% a year. And at 70, I stopped my benefit from my late wife and took mine. Divorcee, tune in. Take the divorcee benefit while yours grows. And at some point, we do the math for you. You have a crossover point where it's worth your while to drop the divorcee benefit and take yours because it was growing at 6 and then 8% a year. Pretty fun, huh? Unmarried children. You're taking a Social Security benefit, one or both spouses. You have children under 18 at home, there's another benefit for them. Comes to you, and on average, it's $1,000 to $1,200 a month, up to 2 children. You may have 4 or 5. They're not cheaper by the dozen. But when you look at a Social Security statement, which some of you receive, in the lower left of page 1, it will show you a family maximum. That family maximum is not the total of 2 spouses. It's the total of 1 spouse and unmarried children benefit. Now, disabled, we've talked about. I just want to say this. A disability benefit changes form at age 65. Doesn't change the amount. It doesn't lessen it, but it's no longer called Social Security disability income. It's a traditional retirement benefit. Disability benefits, as a rule, if you qualify, are 20 to 30% higher than your standard retirement benefit. I know that's a lot of words, but here's where I want to caution you. Let's say you're 64 and you're applying for Social Security benefit. Don't be surprised if you don't get it. Why? Because at 65, there's no such thing as a disability benefit, so they just delay your application. Now, I talked about widow benefits, didn't I? A widow benefit can be as early as 60. We've pretty well covered these eligibility classifications. Let's keep going. Oh, the chart. I just talked about 6% and 8%. Look at age 62. You're getting basically 75% of what you would get at full retirement age. In this chart, full retirement age is 66. But notice from 66 to 70, it went up 32%. How? 8% a year, 4 years, that's 132%. Wow. So when we look at your personal situation, we take into consideration your status, married, single, divorced, your age, your income, your desired time to retire, and how these benefits can grow, your other sources of income, including withdrawals from investable assets, and we do something very helpful for you. And this is all a part of a benefit for you having attended this class. We come up with a retirement roadmap. I'm a little ahead of myself, but I just wanted to whet your appetite for hanging in there today and listening, because you actually can walk away with much more than you expected. And I say that sincerely. Now, it's important for you in planning. Let's say you were meeting with us to know how much you would receive at full retirement age. That's called your primary insurance amount. And some people spread around a myth that your Social Security amount is the subject of the last 5 years of working in that average. That's a myth. It's not correct. There are 5 or 6 different components to how the Social Security Department determines your primary insurance amount at full retirement age. Remember, Full retirement age is 66 to 67, depending on your date of birth. And it gets lowered as you go back to 62. And of course, from full retirement age to 70, it's automatically increasing. It's important for you to understand when are your best options to take Social Security, before, at, or after full retirement age. What strategies can you use? And there are a lot of strategies. And which combinations are best for you? And if you're married, your spouse, or maybe if you're divorced, a divorcee benefit, or you're a widow or widower. A lot of strategies. And here's what I started to allude to just before we came to this slide: integration. What can we do with all your sources of income and investments to maximize your income, mitigate taxes, and make sure you have the right level of risk to maintain your retirement lifestyle as long as you live, and if you're married, as long as a surviving spouse lives, and also being equipped for the storms of life. Well, I think already in listening to me, you're seeing that Social Security and retirement planning is a bit of a handful. And one of the reasons I dedicated myself to retirement planning 42 years ago is because I worked with large firms for 8 years. I'm not saying that critically, but I saw the need emerging. And I saw the complexities. And I also learned very quickly how that many advisors and even CPAs and certainly Social Security employees cannot and will not, they're not educated or equipped to give you the best advice for optimization. What is that? Let's get the most out of everything we have in our favor. It's virtually impossible to come out with what's best for you without sophisticated software, and I will say this, experience in retirement planning. Here's an interesting and sad statistic. It's been proven that over 90% of people receiving Social Security benefits today are actually receiving less than they could. Better timing and better informed decisions can literally add thousands to your bottom line. It's important to know your timing and your strategy, and it's more important than ever in retirement. Also, for another reason, people are living longer. But remember when I showed you that chart with the yellow lines? It showed losses. And I mentioned something, target funds and bonds. But I want to say something else that's at the top of that slide, common problems. 80% of the investment portfolios that I see are on autopilot. What does that mean? Someday, some time ago, your accounts were diversified. Various allocations. Oh, it's diversified. But they're never changed. 80% of accounts I see are on autopilot because not necessarily your fault, our industry's fault. They don't do reviews periodically to update how you should be allocated to reflect what's happening in changes in our economy and in investments. So I recommend, that I said earlier, a second opinion. Why a second opinion? I'm just reviewing this again very quickly. We look at your portfolio. What's its real performance? Because you did make contributions every 2 weeks. Maybe you're still working. So we want to make sure we understand the net performance. And is the risk you're taking suitable? And how is the risk balanced with safety? I've mentioned that several times. Are you paying too much in fees? And then at the end of all of this, we take Social Security, other sources of income that are reliable and sustainable, and withdrawals from your portfolio, and we come up with projected retirement income. And I call that an integrated approach. So you're going to have the following. You're going to have the best scenario for Social Security, and you're going to have a retirement roadmap that says what your income will be with changes recommended. Now, a little trigger. Social Security personnel. Remember, I've alluded to the fact that they're not allowed to give you strategies and personal information. If you call them and ask them how much would you receive at 62 or 67, they will tell you. But as far as taxation, as far as strategies, no. Social Security personnel are trained to start your benefits as soon as possible with as little information as possible, so that the benefit is as low as possible and subject to most taxation. They're trained, restricted, and motivated to do those three things. They're not allowed to give you any more information than that. But think about it for a moment. If they get you to start earlier, it's lower and more likely to be subject to taxation. And then their goal is to get you in and out as soon as possible with as little information as possible. And in fact, if you go further, there's actually in the administrative guide of Social Security, here it is, restrictions on what information employees are allowed to give you. So by the way, take advantage of what we have to offer. There's no hook, there's no cost, there's no hidden agenda. We educate. We give you confidence in your own decision making and give you opportunity to walk away with a roadmap for your retirement, which includes Social Security, your timing, your expected taxes. What is the best strategy? What is the best timing? And how is your portfolio best allocated to weather the storms of life and the ups and downs of what we call the roller coaster ride of the stock market? I didn't say get out of the stock market. I just said make sure that your portfolio is properly allocated, balancing risk with safety to avoid losing money or even running out of money too soon in your retirement experience. Now,
There's a question over here.
we already have somebody with a question. Let me try to read that question, okay?
In mind, there isn't clear cut answer, but
Okay. Here's somebody that's talking about a ballpark of a crossover age. Crossover age means this. I started taking a widow benefit sometime in 60 to 62 to 63 or shortly thereafter, but I have my own benefit and it's growing. That really is a question for mathematics. Our software has the mathematics that Social Security uses, and I'm not trying to be evasive at all. You really need to avail yourselves of having a Zoom or an in-person meeting with us so that we can be very descriptive in that crossover age and what is that in timing and strategy. Thank you. Now, I talked about you needing to know your benefit. You can go online to ssa.gov and find out how much you receive in a benefit at specific ages. And that's important because if you ask us for a strategy session, we're going to need that information. We do not need your Social Security number, but we will need some information in order to give you what is best and right for you. So you have a free half-hour consultation. By the way, if it takes a little longer, that's fine. You can do one-on-one in our office. You can do Zoom. We'll accommodate you. We are very busy, so I encourage you, especially this time of year, to get in touch with us, arrange a time. You will meet with me, and I promise you three things. One, you'll enjoy the visit. Two, you will learn more when you leave than when you came. And number three, there'll be no solicitation. This is truly a free consultation.
we have here somebody saying we need your help.
Here's somebody that says we need your help. Okay, I respect that. And that's why we throw out this lifeline of a free consultation. We're going to show you in just a moment how to tune in to the Lifeline. I want to cover one more subject before we go fully into questions and answers: estate planning. By the way, in our firm, we do that. But you know what's interesting and actually disappointing? 80% of Americans are lacking estate planning. A will and the associated documents, a trust if it's needed, maybe other documents for disabled in the family, maybe other documents to protect the fact that you have a blended marriage or second or third marriage. Estate planning is very essential. The number one problem with estate planning is procrastination. In your review consultation with us, no charge, we'll be happy to discuss your estate planning. Maybe you have it. In 80% of the cases, they do not have it. We can show you what you need and how to get it done. Now remember, you have opportunity to tune in for this consultation. Now we're going to go into questions and answers. At the end, we're going to talk to you and show you how you can tune in to arranging a consultation visit. Questions and answers. A person said, we need your help, and that's why you can have a free consultation. Okay, here's a question. I'm 65 and thinking about retiring so I can receive Medicare now or later. Great question. Let me help you. Some people think, and Social Security implies this, that when you reach 65, you absolutely have to apply for Medicare, get your Medicare card, and then get an Advantage or supplement plan. If you're under a group plan and still working, you do not have to apply for Medicare, number one. You're exempt. Number two, if you do so choose to apply for Medicare A and B and an Advantage and supplement plan, you do not have to be taking a Social Security benefit. Why does Social Security encourage you to take it? Because if you have Medicare Supplement Advantage plan and you have Social Security, your premium is automatically deducted from your monthly Social Security check. They do not want to do the other alternative, which is bill you quarterly. So remember, if you already have group health, you don't have to take it at 65, number one. Number two, you do not have to take a Social Security benefit. So be careful that they don't start it. I've actually had it happen with clients right here in South Florida. Let's go to the next question. What is the best annuity for a married person working at age 62? In all sincerity, that's a very, very personal question because there are many types of annuities and many terms of time. It depends on your overall situation, number one, if you need one. And secondly, if you do need one, what's best for you? Just a little advertisement. We're a fiduciary independent firm. Whatever's out there and whatever name you heard of, we can pretty well represent. But more importantly, what we do is we sit down with you and we tailor a retirement roadmap and then begin to fit in the pieces of the puzzle. So it would be almost like saying, I'm going to Home Depot to get a tool. Yes, but what tool do you need for what project? So we need to identify what is the project, what is the purpose, and then when we walk into Home Depot, we can be very specific about what tool we need to meet the income need. Very, very important. Good question, and it requires personalized planning. Is the PIA different from what's on the Social Security website? You mean for your personal account, it's typically very accurate. So when you go to actually apply for Social Security, you will have the number that you were given and the number that you saw on the website, and you can compare it. And if there's a discrepancy, you can challenge it. And speaking of that, you bring up a very good point. Whenever you have a meeting by phone or in person with Social Security, always ask for a written report that confirms what you were told and what information you came away from. Because occasionally they do make a mistake, and the best time to correct that mistake is right there and then. Okay, let's go ahead and jump forward to scheduling a complimentary appointment. I want to thank you for hanging in there and contributing today and for your questions. And we're going to stay tuned for some more questions in just a moment. We invite you to schedule your complimentary appointment. You can click the link that is in your email, or you can feel free to call our 800 number, 1-888-281-5814, or visit our website, durhamloyal.com. You'll be able to readily tune in and you will be scheduled. It could be by Zoom. It could be our offices in Pembroke Pines. Could be by a phone call if Zoom is not something you're comfortable working with. Either way, we can accommodate you. Now, how do I find out how much my benefits will be when I retire? The very key website for Social Security is ssa.gov. Go slowly, set up your own personal account, and they will show you on that website in your name how much your personal benefit would be at certain ages. Now, you can also try to call the 800 number. That's another way to do it. It takes sometimes a little longer. I prefer ssa.gov because it tends to be the most accurate, and you have established your own Social Security account, which becomes easy when you decide to get your own Social Security benefit or your Medicare card. We'll stay tuned for more questions. Feel free.
They're gonna see in the comments the link for they can book the appointment.
Okay. We mentioned this earlier. You're going to see in the comments and in the link how that you can tune in to schedule your appointment. And you also have the 800 number. You have our website. So we're giving you some 3 different convenient ways to tune in to get scheduled for an appointment. I want to close by saying thank you for your participation.
We're covering different subjects every week. So
yeah, and tune in also because every week I'm doing a slightly different program. And furthermore, not totally related to Social Security, every week I'm also doing on YouTube a program that talks about the market, current changes in the economy, and how that might affect your portfolio. So we're doing a lot online. Stay tuned. You'll learn a lot, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you.
We still have 3 minutes, so.
We still have 3 minutes, so feel free to post your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them.
And also, they're going to receive a text message after this, so it's going to be there. So it's going to
A text message inviting them?
for the appointment, so they can click. It's going to be easy.
Good. We have another convenient way to help you. I introduced Kenya Garcia. She's our director of marketing. She's going to be texting you to give you another way, another opportunity to book a complimentary visit. It's easy. It's painless. It's helpful because something that I discovered, for every person listening tonight, there's a different strategy. There's a different timing. There's a different combination. There's a different way to approach what is best for your retirement planning. So tune in, come see us, or get on the phone, and you'll have a nice visit. It'll be informative and helpful.
Right? Any other questions? Thank you. So Mauricio say thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. We look forward to hearing from you.
Next, I think the next is going to be for women. The next webinar,
Oh,
next masterclass.
if you're still on here, I think our next webinar is going to be for women. There are a lot of different things we can say about that. I have many, many women clients that are single, divorced, widow, and there's much to be said about that. So tune in, tell your friends, come visit us. We'll look forward to it,
Okay.
and you'll be glad.
Click the bell so they can stay tuned. Click the bell on your YouTube channel so they can stay.
What did they click?
In the bell to subscribe to our channel.
You can click to subscribe, and that'll keep you tuned in to our programs.
There's another question over
They want an appointment.
here. Okay. Of course.
We made a note that you would like to speak with someone. That will be me to set up financial planning. Thank you very much. I look forward to speaking with you personally. This is David Durham.
¿Quién is going to be calling her tomorrow?
You'll be called tomorrow to set that up. Thank you.
Oh, I can text. I'm gonna post my phone number so they can. I'm gonna. This is our cell phone. If they want to text message, this is going to be our phone number. But let me see. Any other question?
No.
7.6, 575, 3, 4, 3. They can text that phone number.
It says device is not connected.
Oh, okay, we're fine. So here. Okay, this is our phone, our text message. So if they want, tell Valeria they can text this phone number.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question over here today. There's another question.
I saw it.
Are you and me talk about HSA?
Another question, if you're still tuned in, am I going to talk in future about HSA? HSA is a health savings account. Not really, because it's not typically a significant part of retirement planning. So we could do that in person, but not live to take up other people's time.
Well, you can text to this phone number if they
Okay.
want.
Remember, if you're still tuned in, you can text us at 786-575-3481,
Thank you.
and that will help you set up a free consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
Have a good evening.